guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So in this video I'm going to give you guys the information on what I think are the best guitar hangers, what are probably half decent, and stuff I wouldn't even pay a nickel for. So let's get started on McQuaid's website. String swing. Awesome hook. These things are great. Fantastic. Though, I'm going to tell you they're not nitro friendly regardless what the salesperson tells you, and I'll show you that after. But, good price, great hanger, extremely strong and durable. You can definitely trust your Les Paul or your most prized guitar on this hook. You will not have any problems. However, there's a condition on that. You got to know how to mount these things right. I'm going to talk about that in the video too. So many people I've seen them, they buy really good hangers, but then they just don't mount them right, and they wonder why their precious, expensive guitar is on the ground in pieces. Okay, this is like a mic music stand hanger mounting system. I wouldn't trust that for anything, okay? I really honestly wouldn't. These systems are known to slip at the best of times, and of course they do damage to your stand, and you got to torque them down pretty tight if you want to hold any kind of weight on them. Okay, so I definitely wouldn't recommend something like that. There's a limit to how cheap you're going to be here, alright? So, Fender. Cute. Strong. Probably okay for a Stratocaster or Telecaster. Wouldn't put a Gibson on it though. Price is not too bad. Hercules. This is a 3-point mount system. Now, I am not a real fan of these collapsing down locking systems as it is, because they have been known to jam, and there's plastic and metal involved here, but either way, not a very good system, especially when it comes into this area here on the plate. This is bad, but also you don't have a large footprint for mounting. This is going to be extremely weak if you're going into drywall with drywall plugs even. It's going to create a very weak spot in your drywall, and yeah, your guitar is coming off the wall pretty soon. So, wouldn't trust it. Seen those things fly off many times. These systems here by DA Guitar Gear, absolute cheap and garbage and barf. And way overpriced for what you're getting. They're just definitely disgusting garbage. Yorkville, they're copying the Fender. So what I just said about Fender, apply it to Yorkville. Now, these things, these are actually pretty cool. Now, this is on the left angle. I think you can also get it as a right angle, but you can also get them where they swivel. And a high quality one from Yorkville would be ideal in a lot of situations, okay? They're more meant for music stores, not for your house, although you can use them in your house if you do your wall board back mounts properly, okay? And that can get very costly just to hang up a precious couple of guitars. So, probably wouldn't suggest them. What I don't like about them is this little back area here could create itself as a weak point over the long haul. Okay, so I would be a little concerned about that myself. Okay, guitar stores tend to use some pretty high-end stuff for this, but I think for $7, I'm not sure if I would trust that entirely. At least not on any heavy guitars. On acoustics probably, but I probably wouldn't trust them on electrics. Again, we have a Yorkville one, copy of the Fender, vice versa. Hercules. We're back to Hercules again. Not a fan of the ratchet system, although the rest of this seems fairly good, except for these little tongs, we'll call them, okay? You got to be very careful mounting these. Very precision to get those boards right, otherwise this is not going to work for you, okay? And again, I probably wouldn't hang a Les Paul off this. Les Pauls are very heavy. There are guitars equally as heavy as Les Pauls too, by the way, and some that are very heavy, depending on what kind of guitar you got. Anyways, guitar stands, we're not even going to go here today with that. So, that's what we got from Long McQuaid, basically. Okay? Now, I have a type of guitar stand I like, but again, I don't like these Hercules ones. I've had a few experiences actually in store where I almost took the stand with me trying to get the guitar off, which is why I don't like these ratchet systems, period. Okay, but at least Hercules makes a very good footprint down in here. That's a good strong point. I like that. And I like how it kind of protects things here, so it's only the back of your guitar that actually touches it. So if you have a guitar with a nitro finish, might be okay that way. Although I don't know how nitro friendly their systems really are in the end. Maybe some of you who have nitro finishes can tell us if Hercules have done any damage to your nitro finish on your guitars, regardless of the hook system, whether it's a wall mount or a stand. But otherwise, let's go to Bang Good. Alright, so this would be the same as your string swing. It's actually identical in many, many ways. The difference is it's a much thicker block than the string swing and cheaper in price. Even a $12.50 Canadian with $4.40 shipping, you are still cheaper and no tax. And if you need multiples, you get discounts when you buy 2 or more. And the discounts keep adding up, which is nice. So you can buy a lot of these if you need a lot of them and actually get really good hangers. Again, any of these mounting systems don't use the included screws and don't go into drywall directly with any guitar mount setup, period. You will be asking for trouble, okay? I have seen so many posts on this, it is crazy. A couple of videos too. Anyhow, these are great, fantastic. These were the first ones I actually bought before I got some string swings. Bang Good ran out of stock on these. I needed more. You guys know I've had a boatload of guitars. So I need lots of hooks. So the second batch I ordered of these actually came from Wish, and they sent me the wrong ones. We'll go over those, and I wouldn't buy from Wish even if it looks like this, because you're likely not going to get this. Just go to Bang Good. And besides, Wish charges shipping on every single one, so you're not getting discounts, right? Where you're getting a huge discount and you're only paying one base shipping price from Bang Good. So there you go. Anyhow, for those of you that are into ukuleles, they do say here for electric bass, ukulele bass, yes. Okay, these ratchet systems, again, not a fan of them in any way, shape, or form. But look at the small mounting disc. I wouldn't even trust that on a ukulele, you know, because you're just asking for problems to happen if you're going into drywall. And of course, they give you lousy drywall acres as well. These are junk, and probably the quality of the screws isn't that great either. Now, we got this one for a guitar. Again, we have a very small, narrow bass. This is not going to be strong in the long haul, guys. It really isn't. Even if the rest of it is actually good, though it's a ratcheting system I'm not a fan of. You got a small bass, small footprint, put some weight on there, goodbye, it's coming off. This isn't bad. For a ratchet system, this actually isn't too bad of a little setup. Okay? Although, like I said, the foam on this, I kind of think the foam would get tacky over time around the neck, so I probably wouldn't suggest this, even if the rest of it is okay. Let's go back here. I just don't trust ratchet systems. Okay? Now, this is probably the worst, scariest hook you will ever come across, and I've seen many guitar players on Facebook have used these things with the round bass and this one, and then they put up a post, my guitar came off my wall, and look, it's twisted the plate, because it's not designed to handle a Les Paul or anything more than about 2 pounds. But people don't know this. This is why I'm doing this video. Okay? In this area, that's a very weak link, and it's just a metal plate. Now, some people say, well, metal is stronger than steel. Really? Then why is it that everybody's twisting the garbage out of those mounting plates, and why are they snapping off when they're welded on, too? Okay? Oh, they're just poor quality made. Well, exactly. They are. They're very piss poor quality made. Nobody can make a decent one. You know, a decent one would actually cost you a boatload of cash. But then you still got the problem of the spacing problem. This is a weak spot with drywall. Okay? This is not holding any real weight. So, don't trust it. So, that pretty much concludes this stuff. Now these things here, you got to be very precision in the slot style things. We talked about that with the Yorkville one. It's another design, much heavier duty than the Yorkville, and you can twist it left or right, which is kind of cool. What I don't like is this foam. This is really cheapy foam. I'm going to show you that. Anyways, so let's get out of this jazz and let's go check out the wall. Now, many of you have seen my guitars hang on the wall. So, I'm going to just shut the video off and restart it. This way it doesn't go jiggle-jaggle on you guys. Okay, so we got a real Gibson on the wall and an Epiphone. I actually have 3 Les Pauls and an SG. Now, the Epiphone here is actually mounted to one of the ones from Banggood. Pretty nice smooth finish, very thick hardwood, great collar system. Awesome, works great, okay? Nice rubber, nice little caps. These caps can be annoying, by the way, even on the string swing, same thing. They can pop off from time to time. It's like one of these times I'm just going to Gorilla Glue the buggers back in place, and then they won't pop again. It's the only drawback to any of these, right? They got to have some protective tops on there anyway, right? So, great hook design, great hook. Plenty of space in behind the wall, whether it's an acoustic or electric, will not make it any difference. You got lots of space, so you're good to go. And they hold the weights without an issue. Now, there's a proper way to mount guitars on the wall, and you can see they're screwed into a backboard. You need a 1-inch by about 6 or 7, depending on how wide you want to go. Okay, I think this is like a 1 by 6. You need to put the backboard into the studs, okay? Ditch any screws and other mounting hardware that come with these hooks. Get longer screws, okay? Even 1 inch longer than what came with it is more than sufficient, but a very coarse thread in comparison. So you could even get some deck screws, which would actually work optimal, and I've used deck screws on a few of these things. My landlord actually helped me hang all this stuff up. Okay, I put the hooks where I wanted them. He just did the backboards for me. And he did 2 other guitars that I'll show you in a minute that are not even on a backboard. They're right to the studs. But these are great, and there is no problem. That is not coming off. We've got no flex going on the board. Each one of these, well, there's 2 boards, but there's only 1 screw in each board into each stud all the way across. And I've had, there's actually a lot of weight sitting on there. Like you figure about almost 10 pounds a piece for these 2. You know, my SG doesn't quite weigh as much, and my other Les Paul is about 6 pounds. But I've also got another hook at the far end right now that's empty. So I've had a lot of weight on these, and even my whole backboard at the other side of the room here has been filled with guitars. I've had absolutely 0 issues, okay? And you don't need super high-end wood, so you don't need maple as a backboard unless you want it. So, you know, you can use spruce or pine, that sort of thing. But you need something that's decent, but the big thing is you need some good screws, okay? And when you put the backboard in, use deck screws, okay? And get deck screws that are threaded up as high as possible so you've got plenty of meat. And don't sink the deck screws too far into the wood either, because that's going to make it very weak on your backboard, okay? Because keep in mind, you're screwing this into the backboard, and only a certain amount is going to hit the drywall in the end. So be careful that you don't like reef it in. Try and keep them flush if you can. If you really want to reinforce things on the backboard, spray paint yourself up some washers that fit the screws, right, that you're going to use, and that'll give you more pull resistance against the board for those screws. And I think that would be like the ultimate overkill. But you're thinking, you got a lot of money sitting on the wall. You want to protect it, right? So keep that in mind. Now, let's go over to the other wall. Now, of course, I have 1 guitar and I've got some air rifles hanging off the hooks because I don't have the same amount of guitars I used to. I ditched a lot of them, okay? But we're going to zoom in onto this hook right here. Okay, this is my nitro gun. But you see that hook. Now, the base plate is good. The main hook system is good. No problem there. However, the rubber is garbage rubber. It's okay for an acoustic guitar, but not for an electric, I found. They really were too soft of rubber, and that rubber can tear. And little tiny caps are kind of pressed onto the end of the metal hook, And I've actually broken a couple of them and had to Gorilla Glue them back in place. And these things cost me the same amount as my one from Banggood, which was like at that time $10, now $12.45. I ordered the Banggood version from Wish, but they sent me these instead, and I was really upset. But I had to do with what I had to do at the time. However, I've since replaced a couple of them with string swing versions, and I did get another Banggood one, which my telly is hanging off of. Now, with any of these hook systems, let me just get this solid here, and I can also see what I'm doing. Now, Telecasters are notoriously narrow necks, right? So, you've got to actually angle twist the hook to shape into here. But you may, may have to squash in on the metal a bit. And don't be afraid to squash it in, but go very slowly and carefully, because you don't want to squash too fast either, because you don't want to break the weld. But at the same time, you don't want to squeeze it in too quick, or you're going to have too narrow. But even this, for the tellies, I will tell you, you will have to kind of squeeze these in a little bit. You know, on any of these hooks, whether it's a string swing or whether it's whatever. If you have this metal hook system like I'm using, you're going to have to. Now, these, whether they're the Chinese ones from Banggood or the string swings, are not nitro friendly. And I did say I would show you that, and I'm going to. Just buzzing past the camera there. So, let's go back to the Les Paul. Zoom in real quick. Alrighty. So in here is where my Les Paul is taking the hit. Right on the wood here on the edge, the finish is taking the hit. Now, I did not buy my guitars to keep them pretty. I bought them to play the daylights out of them, naturally relic them, and yeah, I'll keep them as pretty as I can for as long as I can. So I do take care of them, I dust them, I polish them, wipe them down, that sort of thing, right? But the hook, this is the string swing that was said to be nitro friendly. Apparently it's not. Now the rubber on this and the rubber on the one on my Epiphone Les Paul, which is the Banggood one, they're virtually the same rubber. Actually, it's a little smoother and silkier on the Banggood one, where this is a little bit more of a coarser edge. So this is probably where the problem is. So the sales guy was wrong. My Les Paul took a little bit of a hit there. Am I going to worry about it? Like I said, absolutely not. Okay? Now, I don't know what kind of coating is actually on my SG. I'd have to look it up on the website. And I've only had the SG since yesterday. But it's on one of the Banggood style hooks. You know, and well, let's check it. Well, overnight it's not doing anything. Let's see on the long haul. But see, this is kind of like a glossier kind of a finish in here. And I like the rubber coating on this. You know, it's nice. So it may be that this is nitro friendly. Who knows, right? Either way, we actually just don't buy guitars to keep them that perfect, right? But teach their own. But at least you can see, and you have seen in many videos if you've followed my channel for any length of time, that I keep my guitars on the wall. They are the safest spot you're going to have for your guitars. Okay, they're displayed nicely. Well, so are your pellet guns if you have a few of them. But they're displayed nicely. They're easily accessible. What I do like too about these kind of hooks is I can just take my guitar, pick it up, that easy, put it back, that easy. No ratcheting system to try and jam up on me. No frustration. Nothing that can create a weak point and possibly snap over time, which is why I don't even personally like the Hercules systems. And I have had problems even in store with a Hercules stand, because sometimes I have one out. And trying to get the guitar out of there sometimes can be a little frustrating, you know, because it's a lot of weight coming down on that latching system. And over time that's going to gull the sliders. Now that causes a jam up, which makes you buy another one, by the way, eventually. Now, as far as actual guitar stands go, okay, like, you can get whatever you want. I really could care less. However, let me just run this camera down. Sorry about the shakiness, guys. Oh. Okay, this is my Yorkville guitar stand. Primarily this is for students, but I do use it myself time to time. The rubber on here is actually not bad. Okay, and I don't keep a guitar in there long enough to find out. There was a time I had to use stands though. That's the thing. When I lived in North Bay, because of the room I had for my studio and all the stuff that was in there, like RCs were in it, everything was in that room. Look back at my older videos. I'd use guitar stands, and I also didn't have a boatload of guitars either. But I did still rifle through quite a number of guitars. But I use stands, and stands are fine if you don't have in-floor heating. If you have in-floor heating like I do, you must keep them on the walls. You cannot keep them in the case. Those cases cannot be sitting on the floor. You will cook your guitar and twist and bend the daylights out of it, because in-floor heating is just going to do that. Okay? So, and same as putting them on a stand with in-floor heating, it's not high enough off the floor. So for the long term, no. Do not use a guitar stand if you have in-floor heating in your house. Also, when you are hanging up guitars, make sure you are not near any heat registers, whether they're a narrow one that blows up, okay, forced air heating, right? You don't want that too close to your guitar, because you'll cook your guitar, so make sure you strategically place stuff. But at the same time, if you have baseboard heating, it's not going to be a good wall, because that heat is going to be like massive coming up at your guitar, worse than what in-floor heating does. But with in-floor heating, you have to be a minimum of 3 feet off of the floor level to avoid damage to your guitars. Minimum, okay? If you can go 4 feet, even better. If you can afford 5 feet, even better still, okay? But with baseboards, though, they shoot right up the wall, and they superheat the wall too at the same time, right? It's their job, and so it warms up everything. So try not to have your guitars hanging anywhere around where you have baseboard heating, and you should be fine. Now, the one last thing we want to go over here, of course, is I was talking about going right into the drywall here. I'm sorry about getting in front of the camera, but that's the way it goes. So, you can see here, I got my Taylor. And of course I got a Denver over here. Now, the Denver, it needs to be demoted. It's actually on the string swing. No, I'm just kidding. Actually it is, but no. The Taylor is also on one of the Banggood hooks. Okay, now, you'll notice no backboard. We found the studs, went right into the studs, and we actually used deck screws. Okay, and we drove them right in. I can hang any guitar I want off those 2 hooks and still not have to worry, because I'm directly in the studs. If you don't want to use a backboard, you need to get into the studs. This is why you need longer screws. So in that case, I would use deck screws that are longer, okay, and go into the stud that way. Now, you don't need a 6-inch screw. A 3-inch screw should be more than adequate. You know, maybe 3.5-inch tops, because you got to go through 1 inch of that hardwood mount for the thing, at least a 1/2 inch of drywall, okay, and then into the stud. So between a 3 and a 3.5-inch coarse threaded deck screw, and yep, you're solid. You can hang any guitar you want off that spot. Now, it looks a lot prettier and cleaner, but studs aren't that far apart in total. And sometimes they can be, actually, but it depends on how old the house is. But at the same time, if you want to put the most amount of guitars on a wall, you need to use the backboard system like I do. But if you're looking at just a couple guitars here and there, I have enough space on the wall over in this area. I can put probably 2 more guitars, although I'm only hopefully buying 1 more. And I know I've said that before, but, you know. We're going to try, okay? I'm going to try and just buy 1 more guitar, and it's an acoustic I'm after. So, anyhow, so that's mounting into that system. So, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this video and it helps you. And although, yes, I am really pushing the string swing design and these Chinese ones the most, they have given me the best results, okay? Other people that have used these have also had extremely excellent results, especially if they are mounted properly, okay? Which means you have to go into the studs or backboard system, and hopefully you get a stud on the odd one like I did, okay? But you cannot be using these drywall acre things even on this design, even though it's a wider platform, okay? Like you're talking almost 4 inches, okay? So even though it's wider, you still got the weight of your guitar pulls on the top screw the most. okay? And the bottom is there for the extra, right? But drywall acres, even though they say, oh, good for 20 pounds, oh, good for 40 pounds, spread over a distance, yes, they can hold weight, but not if you're going to have a more compressed area. You could probably do an acoustic, okay, but you're not going to be hanging Les Pauls off of these things, which is drywall screws and drywall anchors right into the drywall. They will not stay no matter what hook design you decide to go with, okay? Does not work well. Okay, many people have tried, and many have just as equally failed with that. So anyways, take it for what it's worth. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, got a lot out of it. I think that the proof speaks for itself. You know, it's been going on 4 years I've lived in this house. 4 years I've had all my guitars on the wall, and I've had the walls completely filled on those backboards with a lot of weight of guitars. I've had no problems with the backboard. I've had no problems with any guitars even thinking about loosening up their brackets and mounts. So that alone should speak volumes to you guys. There's definitely right and wrong ways to do things. It's kind of just up to you on how you want to handle that. And this video is here to help you guys to make the best possible choices and strategic choices, and give you the best info possible on also hooks to stay away from, because they are actually garbage, and many people don't know what's good and what's bad, and a lot of people will take the word of reviews, and that's fine. I mean, at least when I tell you about a product that it's garbage, but you know, the majority of the reviews does make a difference, okay? And I have not made too many choices of purchasing something based on 5 stars, because I think 5 star is bogus, and nothing is perfect, right? Everything has its drawbacks, other than being perfect. Some things do actually have further drawbacks. Anyway, whatever. It's up to you guys, but this is my video for you guys today on this subject, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Ciao.